Streaming is dreaming. Or is it a nightmare? I don't know. It's the motherfucker player Oh, yeah. Welcome in, guys, to the lunch hour, although it's a little late in the lunch hour, but lunch hour power hour with me, your host, Casey D. How's it going, everybody? Good to have you guys here and around. Happy to be here with y'all. Happy to be here. Sorry, I'm efforting trying to get to our league's page because I dropped the ball and forgot to pull us up because we got to recap week 10. It was fun. It was exciting. Was it not? No, maybe not. Maybe for some and not for others. You know what I hate? When you go to click on something on a page and because of an ad, it pushes it or adjusts. And so right when you go to click, the fucking ad, so I guess, the fucking ad takes over your click and then the ad pops up and then you got back out of that shit. It's just not cool, man. Not cool. Last week, there were not a lot of blow-up wins. The biggest win was for Rally Monkeys. He won by 4. Biggest margin of victory. And, he definitely was enjoying that for sure. But as Shane pointed out, 3-way tie for that second place at 6.5 games back. But let's get into it. Last week, week 10, this is, for those of you who are new or maybe have forgotten, week 11 is the halfway regular season point. So we literally, after this week, will be, halfway done. Halfway done with the regular season. And just about all of us are halfway done with our moves. I myself am leading the way with 46, and we'll get into that number and, what happened over the weekend. But holding on to theirs quite dearly are Troubleshooters with 17, Swinging and Missing only has 18, along with Rayford Peaches, and 19 with the Hitman. The rest of us have 20 or more. Nick sitting there with 21 and sitting there in 6th place. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But here we go. Week 10, let's recap and we'll start. Let me see. What was our matchup of the week? It was probably between Josh and... or Nick and Jason. I can't remember. I think it might have been a double dose of, I need to really start writing these down. I forget all the damn time. A week goes by and I forgot what happened 5 minutes before I even record this podcast. So, but yeah, let's get into Ray and Josh's. This one came down to Sunday Night Baseball, as a lot of them honestly do, but I believe going into Sunday night, these two teams were tied 5-5, and Josh pulls out a little victory with, what'd you get? Did you get a Luke Weaver win? Is that what happened? Did he get that win for you last night? No, it's not saying he got a win. It just says he got a save plus hold. And weren't you already leading the charge with the save plus holds last night? So I'm not seeing it here, Lloyd. Did Clay Hoffman or Holmes, Clay Holmes? He got a save plus hold last night. So you got 2 last night. So that's what got you which I mean, you only needed 1. So I don't really know. You didn't get the win, but Ray definitely struggled a little bit in pitching last week, but so did both y'all. 420 and a 565 ERA, but charging ahead with the strikeouts with guys like Nathan Eovaldi and Kevin Gausman turned it around, got you the much needed strikeout numbers in your favor there, Josh, but not really good on the batting. 242 on the average. You took the stolen bases, and that was it. So she obviously took the batting, and you took the pitching, and you tied in wins and losses. But it did, however, drop you down to third. And yeah, but again, you're tied for second. But for whatever reason, Rally Monkeys gets to take the lead off spot in y'all's three-way tie. The other matchup that was of interest was Jason and Nick. Jason lost it on Sunday. He had I don't want to say a commanding lead, but there was a lead that was being held pretty much all week. And Nick came in and said, "No, sir, Bob." You guys had a split decision on the pitching categories. Literally, we have 6 categories, and the two of you split. 1 wins, 1 losses. 1 won the ERA, 1 won the whip. 1 quality starts, 1 the save plus holds. You get it, but I felt the need to go through it. And this was a very close matchup in terms of runs and home runs. 1 home run was the deciding factor, and I don't know because I did not look it up, but were there home runs hit? Santander and Hernandez hit home runs, and Adley Rutschman hit 1 for you. So it was that simple. A Teoscar Hernandez home run broke up the home run tie, and that was in Sunday Night Baseball. So that's how it went on Sunday. Jason lost the tie bid in the home runs and gave Nick a 7-5 lead. Look, I've said it. Nick's obviously, he is a silent fucking ninja, and he will gladly hang out in the bottom of our league for the first couple of weeks, letting us think that he does not have what it takes, and then all of a sudden he does a surge, and guys like Teoscar Hernandez have a fantastic week, especially on a week when Kyle Tucker goes on the IL for him. But getting offense from people, and O'Neal Cruz is starting to turn up a little bit. The other Cruz, as in De La Cruz, is going to provide that much needed stolen base, but he got stolen bases from just about everybody. But but again, I mean, Jason is solidifying himself still in that number 1 spot with guys like Adley Rutschman and Jose Ramirez, Mookie Betts doing big things for him. And, you know, he's the outfield is a little suspect, if you will, but I mean, hey, ride it because it's working. I mean, you're number 1, and I myself am number 7. So I don't even have a seat or a chip at the table. We talked about it briefly, but now looking, Rally Monkeys got a much needed victory. Look, I want to put this out there to the league. Go ahead and, drop this little nugget in there and get the conversation going. If Sean's going to be in the league, but he's not monitoring his lineup for whatever reason, if he, we get it. All of us have lives that sometimes do not allow us to monitor a day-to-day fantasy baseball league. At least, can we get some adjustments made? I mean, I see that he picked up Mazer. Is he just waiting for Diaz to come off the IL? And he's just like, we have IL spots. I'm not saying that we need to have Shane make adjustments for that, but if I don't even know if he's getting all the pitching categories. I don't know, but I know that I've seen Edwin Diaz. He's been on the 15-day injured list. So can we maybe get an agreement that at least the hitman has a monitored lineup where he's at least playing? Because I mean, he's leaving stats and categories and stuff out there. I mean, he might have won stolen bases with Bryce Terang getting some stolen bases. This is altering the standings, if you will. I'm just throwing it out there. Again, what I'm asking for, because I don't think it was very clearly made, is that we put it to a vote that if Sean needs assistance from his brother Shane, who is also our commissioner, to at least set his lineup to a weekly thing to where, yes, I will set it. And if he wants to come in and make adjustments where needed, but for the most part, again, leaving Bryce Terang out there, to steal bases. Now, again, I see that he has Marcus Semien, but I'm making a very clear notated thing that he does not have a lot of pitchers, and he has a relief pitcher that has been on the injured list for quite some time. And again, he has Weathers that is also on the injured list, that is an active. He's taking up an active spot on his lineup, and he has no one occupying his injured list. So again, putting it out there that the adjustment being able to be made by brother Shane, our commissioner, as well. So if you watch this, and if not, for those that do watch it, it'll get the conversation going for everybody else that does not watch it. But regardless, the week came and went, and the winner is Walker, and it projectiled him to being tied for second. It takes the 8-4 victory and the largest win this week. Agents of Chaos is slowly creeping and chipping away. Took down Mandalorians. This one was a mixed bag, but again, pretty much a mix between the two gentlemen here. They tied for runs. They were very close in home runs. RBIs, Brian walked away with them handedly, almost by 10. Stolen bases was very close. The average, the OBP. Looking at the pitching, I mean, this was a razor thin victory, if you will, Brian. Just one mishap could have caused you to lose that whip. You had a little bit, of a high ERA in the 4s, but this was very close for you two gentlemen for sure. But to the victor go the spoils, and the victor was Brian this week with 6-4 victory. And, you just hang in there and hold on to wins like this for another 9-10 weeks. And you never know, because, you just chip away. You never know. There might be a big loss on one team's end, the one that you and I are both looking up at, because you are in 8th place, and I'm referring to you, Brian, is Nick. And yes, he just got a 7-5 victory. But again, there were some very close stats that Jason lost, and there may be, a big loss received on Nick's end, and Nick's receiving end. It's also weird to say. Swinging and missing took down troubleshooters. He's got an offense. He's getting offense almost like he's getting offense from players sort of like we've seen Walker get one. But Yandy Diaz, my goodness, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. But he's got some names in there too. Naylor, Josh, Spencer Steer, and of course the person that we all wish we had a little piece of, and that's Gunnar Henderson. And then he's getting stats from Luis Robert Jr., who came back and is now just going to hit dingers. And this Freeman guy from Cleveland, Tyler Freeman. So the Cleveland Guardians, man, they're just getting offense from every corner of their lineup when it comes to just no-name people, like the David Fry guy, who might I point out that, Brian, we're not new to this. You ride the hot bat as long as you can, but eventually those embers will cool, because none of us were going to pay the asking price for one David Fry. And in your attempts to hold him, it may be costing you. And then it also costs you in your belief in him, and rather a proven JT Realmuto. I'm just saying. But again, ride the hot bat as long as possible, and then get off that train as soon as possible. But that's my little PSA. But even with all this offense that troubleshooters had, he literally only won runs by one. 12 home runs, but only 33 runs compared to Eric's 32. He got a lot from Bregman, Corbin Carroll, who's picking it up just ever so slightly. 6 between those two gentlemen, and 4 from Francisco Lindor. Those are going to be some names that pop up this week for sure against me. Cronenworth, Lindor, Corbin Carroll, I'm sure will have outstanding weeks. But yeah, Eric takes it and gets out of, he's slowly climbing back. I think last week Eric also took the win. No, he took the loss against Shane. But he does get out of being at the bottom of the barrel, and he's in 10th place now. So just got to chip away. So there's only one matchup left, and obviously, I focus in on probably the one that had maybe the most chatter, and it had to be you, and it had to be me, Shane. We obviously did not disappoint when it came to conversations. And I haven't really pulled up everything that had we not had our Saturday night hangout session, where it went like this. Okay, so I was chilling. We had just gotten back from date night, my wife and I, and chilling in the bed. And I pulled up fantasy baseball. I tuned into Hunter Brown's 6th inning work, and immediately realized, okay, Hunter Brown just gave him a quality start. And that is what tied us in the quality starts, because you had just recently picked up one Kyle Gibson. You also had picked up earlier in the week David Lynch and Lance Lynn, if I'm remembering correctly. So you had streamed 2 pitchers in order to try to, I assume, offset the loss of Zach Gallen, but I think you had also picked up Jordan Montgomery earlier in the week, and he had done exactly what I was fed up with him doing on my roster. However, you were taking advantage of, I guess, the fact that I have more moves. I was already in the 40s, if you will, and you were, at least close, but it appeared, were desperate for pitching stats. And my roster was, although not shining, I was definitely separating myself enough from you. Then, as I noticed that Hunter Brown gave you the stat that you needed, and not to mention your pickup of Kyle Gibson, gave you the strikeouts needed to bring you within a puncher's chance. You then followed it up with picking up Taijuan Walker. And I immediately became very agitated. And I can remember back to Chris Reeder and his, I believe it was his disdain for streaming. And I was pissed off. I really was. I'm not going to lie, and I know that this is very immature. I lost sleep over that shit because I had to work the next morning with Eric, and I got about 2.5 hours of sleep. Now, I also struggle with sleep. I've done that for years, but for the most part, my REMs of sleep over the last few months have been very well, and my blood pressure went through the roof. Not necessarily because of what you had done, but because of what had been done. I am fighting for a chance to get back in the top 6. Now, we are not even close enough to say that this type of move, number one, was needed on your part, but number two, isn't recoverable, if you will. But the distance between myself and Nick last week were separated by me just simply adjusting. I could have won, and we've all seen that losing such a close matchup could come back to bite you in the ass if you play each other later in the playoffs. And that's why I'm very frustrated, because I left Alvarado and Hesley, who both played each other that night on Sunday Night Baseball. I removed them from my lineup, believing that I had won a category and not to risk. But anyways, now coming into our week, I knew exactly that I was not going to be able to compete offensively for the most part with what you have. I am not an idiot, and for you to continue this modest approach to your offensive team, it honestly just kind of makes you look foolish. Like, we're not stupid, Shane. We know that you have a moments. In any moment, Matt Olson is going to turn back into the Matt Olson that was last year. Granted, he's not going to put up the numbers that he did last year. No Brave is. That Braves team is, I'm putting it, stamping it, they're not making the playoffs. Their offense is putrid and they are just trying to scuffle together. I believe the Washington Nationals will be the team to represent them, and the Phillies will be the two teams that get in. The Washington Nationals will be out almost immediately. But I do not believe that the Braves have what it takes. Now, I could be wrong. Prove me wrong. But Austin Riley has not been the same. Ozzie Albies has not been the same. Matt Olson has not been the same. If your three offensive guys are not looking good and the only people carrying your team are Orlando Arcia and Marcell Ozuna, you're going to fail. Now, again, you have Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Christian Yelich, Jose Altuve, Matt Olson. Those are some of, if not the biggest names in baseball. Hands down. Aaron Judge is ranked number 1. Why? Because Juan Soto got injured and because he's Aaron Judge. Number 18 is Bryce Harper. Nick Castellanos is even making a case. I mean, he's ranked 371. Christian Yelich was out for a little bit, and he's still ranked in the top 50. Jose Altuve, though let you down, he's still ranked 40th, though had been, on a mid-slump. But again, your offense versus mine, okay, I don't believe in the projected numbers that you and Eric were putting out there just last week when we were seated together. No one would put Stephen Kwan and Aaron Judge in the same category together in the same conversation of who's going to be better. Nobody would put a Freddie Freeman. Well, they're going to put Freddie Freeman in the same conversation with first baseman like Bryce Harper. But when you have two of the best, you're winning that argument all day long. Ketel Marte and Jose Altuve, in my opinion, are somewhat equals. But when you start to go down the rest of your team, you have a more potent offense. So again, I knew I stood zero chance against your offensive numbers. I was surprised, probably just like anybody else, as to how many stolen bases I got. And I had to put together offense because I didn't have anything coming into Wednesday. I don't believe I got a stat on Monday. Okay, I got 2 runs. You, with 2 Nolan Gorman home runs, had more than me at the start. And then Tuesday, I'm got 4? 5. But I still was chasing you down for the most part every week in those batting categories. And did not even compare in the average and the OBP. So again, my concern was justified in that. Yours, you've addressed that you do not feel comfortable with your pitching staff moving forward because you've traded them away. So again, you obeyed the rules of our league and you streamed against me. However, I became bitter in that moment, knowing that you had picked up yet again another one in order to try, because you knew my team, you knew my roster, you knew my moves. Knowing all this, you had your plan of attack. And therefore, the conversation then sparked into labeling you as a piece of shit. I apologize for calling you a piece of shit. I believe that what you did, though, was shitty. I feel that way. You were comparing me picking up a rookie pitcher to what you were clearly doing and had been doing all week. It was not that you had just thought about streaming on Saturday. You had been streaming all week long. And for the most part, it was blowing up in your face because it was not giving you what you needed. Lance Lynn didn't give you what you needed, nor did Daniel Lynch. And so you proceeded to then add Kyle Gibson, who did give you what you needed, and then you grabbed Taijuan Walker in hopes that you at least were going to get a quality start. You knew the lineup just like I did, the roster. The Mets are dog shit right now. And both you and I were saying, had he not been pulled, he would have got you the win. Well, no, that's not entirely true because they ended up tying up that game. And the Mets actually ended up ultimately winning based off of, I think, the people that Taijuan Walker had put on in that 5th inning. So, okay, again, we don't really know, but that was pretty damn close that you were going to get a quality start and a win, and you were literally one batter away. And that's on the Phillies for pulling him in that particular moment. I believe he probably could have induced a grounder or whatever. But regardless, it is what it is. It happened. So, seeing what you had done, I made a comment, and then I also made a move myself in adding, now I don't necessarily remember, because I think he's still on my team. I think I added, who did I add? I know I had Flexen. I had added Waldrop. Carrasco. No, Carrasco was like the last one. Anyways, I had added Waldrop. Now, I did not add Waldrop to stream against you. There is a clear and distinct difference between what I did and what you did. Waldrop is a prospect. He's a rookie. I added him based off of my interest level in him. You added pitchers based off of your interest level in winning. I am still holding on to Waldrop. you have since dropped the pictures that you picked up. That's the definition of streaming. There are two differences, in my opinion. Now, if Waldrop was to go NA, I have a decision to make, but they haven't put him down either, because from what I've seen, he did well enough to stick around. And I am going to go over, so I need to stop this real quick. And I suffer from rheumatoid bursitis, but until my doctor described me Doritos, I suffered just like everybody else with rheumatoid bursitis. But it wasn't until my doctor said, start taking Doritos for all your aches and pains. Now, Doritos may actually cause rectal bleeding, anal suffocation. You also may experience hunger after eating Doritos. Just keep eating more Doritos. Doritos is not a sponsor of this show, nor do we actually have any reason to believe that our chips cause any sort of medical side effects. Also, do not take Doritos to offset any medical issue. If seeking medical attention, immediately dial 911. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. This may be the very longest episode that I've put together this year. But I will not take up more of your time. I'm going to take up more of your time, obviously, with every second that I record. Anyways, so you had said that I was streaming. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. Waldrop was mentioned several weeks ago on a show that I produced for the radio station by one Jeff Prosser. I had no idea. I will not deny. I had zero idea of knowing that Hurston Waldrop was getting the bump into AAA and that there was a clear route based off of how he did and bringing him into the majors. I knew of Hurston based off of his year at Florida. I had no idea of where he was in his minor league career. I immediately, in that morning, on that show, grabbed my phone and put him on my watch list. And oddly enough, the very night, Friday night, I was producing for Gator Baseball. Ray is sitting next to me. I have my phone in my hand looking at our updates and got an alert that said Hurston Waldrop making his major league debut, yada, yada, yada. Without hesitation, I stopped what I was doing and picked him up. That was not a stream. Streaming a rookie in this situation between you and I, it's not comparable to what you did. I was looking for the next big thing. I was not looking for a thing to help me compete with you. As a matter of fact, I would have probably preferred to not even play him because he's a rookie. Look at what Jason did. I know that what Jason did in terms of Cade Povich was merely an accident because he didn't know that the Baltimore Orioles were going to call him up, but he avoided a blow up. And if you've seen this season, that's been pretty much the case with these rookie pitchers. They are getting destroyed. They are not ready. And that's it, except for one, Paul Skeens. If anybody wants to counterbalance that argument that I just made about rookie pitchers getting the call up and being able to withstand the pressure and the adjustments to the major league level, please comment in the comments. Show me, prove me. But the only one I can think of is Paul Skeens. And of course, he was on my team. And of course, I traded him away for players that are no longer there. But being accused of streaming by adding somebody that I had on my watch list and have anticipation for is completely different than what you did. 100%. I didn't add Hurston to compete with you. I added Hurston in hopes of having something for down the line. Because in my opinion, I was not the only one that would have added him on that day. Much like you guys have seen people drop and you immediately pick him up, you react very quickly. So you and I did not have the same approach to our roster last week. I even made a trade for Zach Wheeler, who had already pitched. Now, granted, so did Walker for Yamamoto, but Walker can attest I was willing to make a trade involving Austin Riley and Yamamoto the night prior, therefore losing a pitching category. Walker can agree with me. So I was not streaming on you. And then you again tried to use that as an argument of saying you're streaming on me, so I'm giving you the same. No, you were not giving me a counterbalance to that. You were already doing that. That was your plan of action. So again, you have 2 points that I've made against your argument this week. You know your offense is good. Just start living in that world, bro. You've got a better offense. I'll stop living in the world of poor me and the trades I made if you stop living in the world of my offense is putrid and will never survive. Bull fucking shit. You and I both know, and I'm sure everybody else is, if you want to make it and you want your team, you've got to stop riding the coattails of Tanner Bybee and Nestor Cortez. You know that. You shouldn't have traded away Burns and Yamamoto. You realize that because your offense obviously is not going to carry you and you don't have the moves to keep doing what you just did last week. So make a trade. That's all I'm going to say. You know your team. All you got to do is get rid of one of those offensive pieces, and I guarantee you, you're not going to suffer as much as you think you are. The only problem is you don't really believe you're not going to get rid of Judge. You're not an idiot. You're probably not going to get rid of Harper. Again, you're not an idiot. But you want to get rid of Olsen or Altuve, you can clearly get some of those stats of a second baseman or third baseman from Gorman. And when Seager comes back, which he will, you will again. So you just need to make a trade. You know that. I know that. So having said all that, again, my apologies for calling you a piece of shit. I believe that what you had done at the beginning of the week in streaming was shitty because I again am holding on by the skin of my teeth to 7th place. I've got Brian chipping away, and I've got Nick separating himself because Jason didn't do the Lord's work. But like I said last week, Jason, like I said. Anyways, I believe I've said that, and I believe that you will take the moment to make the statement. Now, one thing that I did notice, you and I both acted, in my opinion, Shane, we both acted immaturely and began streaming on each other. You have since cut the people that you grabbed because their results outside of strikeouts were not what you needed. Technically, they were because you closed the gap. I then streamed on you, and simply because I've got pitchers in the waiting, I don't really necessarily need to cut and make a move to grab up somebody else. What was I trying to say? The moves that you had made probably cost you in the long run. If you look at what Kirby Yates and you look at what Kenley Jansen did, they actually would have reduced your ERA and your whip. Kenley Jansen struck out 5 of the 6 batters he faced. Kirby Yates, I believe, got 2 strikeouts. I believe both of them got a save plus hold. That was already pretty much solidified by me, but I believe that the ERA would have been better in your favor and the whip had you kept your relief pitchers. And again, as you pointed out, picking up the people I did and Carlos Carrasco and Flexen didn't help me either. But because your pitchers that you grabbed struggled the chips fell where they did. But again, you took 4 out of the 6 in the batting categories. And those are the 4 points that you grasped. Tied me in quality starts because of pitchers that you picked up. Because I believe Kyle Gibson was the only one that gave you the quality start. You got 2 from Waldron, which, great pickup a couple weeks ago. Because I don't think you picked him up. But yeah, pretty crazy. He's shining. And who knows what they're going to do with Joe Musgrove if he does indeed, in fact, come up. But that was our matchup. That was the longest. But I figured, we did our job, Shane. Good job. We entertained those. Now let's see who's going to do it this week. Because we have several matchups that are very intriguing, as Jason pointed out, this week in week 11 at the halfway point of our regular season. One of which is a family feud between the 2 gentlemen tied for that second place in Benchwarmers and Walker. I believe that you 2 have some ground to cover in order to give the fodder that was Shane and I last week. But you may be balanced between Shane and Jason's. Now, we also may contribute as well, but we're at the bottom of the barrel, and that's myself and Eric. But we'll do our best. We know we won't hear anything from Nick. We will hear some from Brian. We won't hear a peep out of Sean in Hitman, who faces off against Jesus. And we'll get maybe a peep from Ray, who's facing off against Mandalorians. Those are our matchups this week. My matchup of the week is clearly going to be a twofer, but it's going to be shadowed a little bit on one side with Josh and Walker. But Shane and Jason are clearly our number 2 for this week. Big week because 3 of those teams that are in our matchups of the week are tied. And let's look at our results right now as a league. Even though everyone can pretty much do that themselves. But I just like looking at it myself. 6.5 game lead is Jason over Rally Monkeys, Benchwarmers, and Shane. Trippin' Billies. So Trippin' Billies has some Lord's work to do against Jason. And in my opinion, this is going to be an offensive slugfest because both you 2 gentlemen have been putting up the offensive numbers this week. Or the past few weeks, rather. Ray is only 1 game back from you gents. And I myself am 3.5 games back now from Nick. However, the 8 through 12 are really starting to see a grounds being separated. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Y'all get what I'm trying to say. The closest one, obviously, to 7th place is Brian, me being 7th, right at about 9.5 games back. So, or is that 8.5? I think that's 8.5. Yeah, 8.5 games back. So Brian is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination, nor is any team down at the bottom, because we are clearly only through 10 weeks and we'll make it out. So whatever ground you feel like you need to make up, I would suggest getting out there, because there are some players, and I will end with this. There are some players out there that hold a lot of interest and that are actually doing some really good things. And over the past 30 days, which is what I'm pulling up in terms of batters, we are seeing guys like, I believe his first letter is an H, but it's silent. Elliot Ramos. He's rapidly tearing things up. But how long will he stay in that Giants lineup? Look at what Andrew McCutchen has done over the last 30 days. Look at what Mason Wynn has done. Okay, David Hamilton of Boston. Josh Bell surprisingly was dropped, but he's been doing some pretty big things. Those are just in terms of, you got names like Alec Burleson. And then on the pitcher side, which it seems is really a hot commodity, you ain't finding it in starting pitchers. You're finding it in relief pitchers. So there are relief pitchers that are out there, but they are the ones that are in the past 30 days have been shining in the wins, ERA. So I don't know. But anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in to this 45-minute long conversation. I hope you guys have a great week. We are approaching Father's Day this week. So cheers to all the pops out there. Next week, I've completely forgotten about this. I probably need to pass off the responsibilities to one Walker. I am out of town next week. Myself and Ray are traveling to California. And there's a very good chance that we're going to be taking in, we've already got the tickets to go see, but you never know with weather, the Anaheim Angels next week. But I will not be here in the state of Florida on Monday. So, Walker, if you're watching this, which I know that you more than likely will, would you like to have the responsibilities of It's Obviously a Podcast bestowed upon you? Do you think you can handle it? I always love your commentation. I always like when you do it. So it's out there, sir, because if not, there may be no content until I get back, which will almost be at the start of week 13. So, yeah, there's 11s this week, 12s next week, start of 13. Yeah, so hit me up. Let me know. All right. Have a good week, guys. It's the motherfucker. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, yeah.